Seniors, this is Steve Kane here, asking you, is there too much month left at the end of your money? Take advantage of a reverse mortgage. If you're 62 years of age or older, you own your own home, you can get the money you need, have no mortgage payment, and live in your home for the rest of your life. Use the money for anything. Vacations, pay off your bills, home repairs. It's your money to do with what you want. Call Emmanuel Saint-Germain on his cell phone, 561-400-7317. 561-400-7317.
1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. Listen for A Touch of Gray, the talk show for adults, with Carol Marks and Michael Harrison, Saturdays at 1.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
The skills you can develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you an edge in the high-tech job market of tomorrow. The Guard offers career training to take advantage of your skills in science, technology, engineering, and math that can help give you a leg up to a high-paying and rewarding STEM profession. Get a head start on your career while earning money to pay for college. Log on to NationalGuard.com to learn about all of the STEM career opportunities in the Army National Guard.
Sponsored by the Florida Army National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
It's Monday night at 9 p.m. and time for Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers. Dr. Ricky Siegel is a certified sex therapist, educator, and supervisor, and his brother Larry Siegel is a clinical sexologist and certified sexuality educator. The Siegel Brothers are here to answer all your questions about sex and sexuality, but we're unsure who to ask, including questions you didn't even know you had. They will also welcome guests from around the globe to talk about a wide variety of topics and issues within the fascinating world of sexuality. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Sex Talk.
Good evening. It's Monday at 9 o'clock, so that means it's time for Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers. My name is Ricky Siegel, a certified sex therapist.
And I'm Larry Siegel, a clinical sexologist and certified sexuality educator.
And good to be back with you. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching live streaming on Facebook or listening to the radio in South Florida, we are on 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. I lost my dial.
Yeah.
And you can call us, give us a ring, join the conversation at 888-565-1470.
Yes, indeed.
And we'll talk sex.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yes. I want to, first, before we jump back into our conversation from last week, give a plug to my dear business partner, Dr. Rachel Needle in West Palm Beach and Modern Sex Therapy Institutes. We train psychotherapists and medical and mental health professionals in sex therapy and sexuality counseling, sexuality education.
And if somebody's interested in training or therapy, how could they get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me. Call me directly on my cell phone. I'm easy to reach, 561-809-1080, or you can visit modernsextherapyinstitutes.com.
And is it true that you prefer people calling you between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m.?
Yeah, funny guy. Yeah.
So what's new and exciting?
Well, we ran out of time last week when you did your usual shtick of dropping a bomb, dropping a golden nugget right when we ran out of time.
Well, as I said, then I want to let it linger.
Let it percolate.
Yeah.
You were saying how much baggage and how much damage is in the history of that phrase, be a man.
Yeah, and it's just a toxic phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, just plain and simple.
To
it's
raise
a toxic
kids,
phrase.
to raise boys with that notion, be a man.
Right. And all the stuff that comes along with that. I'm glad that you said baggage.
Yeah.
Because often that comes along with that really just horrible thing that so many dads, say to their son, if their son is upset and is crying or is hurt or disappointed, whatever normal emotions bring sadness. Yet it's often met with, I'll give you something to cry about.
Man up. Right. Even with physical wounds, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Walk it off.
That big sex, that's right. Walk it off. That big sexist difference in how boys are raised and how girls are raised.
Yeah, and one of the points that you were making also last week toward the end was this idea that men don't have a language, a vocabulary for emotions.
For expressing feelings once we get past pissed off and sad.
Right. And those are the only two that, generally get expressed. Maybe happy.
Sure.
But it's a difficult issue. It really is, because we, again, have every emotion. Men are just as emotional as women. It's in the expression. That's the difference, and that's where so many men get jammed up, and it becomes like a pressure cooker.
Right.
And then by the time it is released, it's explosive. It's rage.
A lot of it goes back to just a fundamental lack of understanding what intimacy is once we get past sexual intimacy. Right? To most male brains, sexual intimacy implies sexual intimacy.
Well, for a lot of people, intimacy is sex.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the way they define it.
But, of course, look how much sex happens that's anything but intimate.
Well, sure.
Right? A drunken pickup in a bar, like, oh, that was great. What was your name again? Is hardly intimate.
Right. Well, I would even say if on a good day, all things being equal, during sexual play, especially during intercourse, if you're doing it right, you really should be into your own body, into your own feelings. And in a way, we are separate from our partner in that moment. I think a lot of the intimacy is before and it's after.
Right.
But during, physically we might be connected, but not necessarily in other ways.
Well, a lot of it goes back to what Betty was saying last month when she surprised us in here and was talking about how people are just getting off together more than having sex with each other.
Yep.
Or in or on each other. Not really with. I mean, it's in the guy's script that sex is something you do to a partner, not with a partner.
Right. And, let's add how...
It starts in high school, Oh, did you do her?
Right.
If a guy went out on a date, that's what the other guys want to know. Did you do her? Did you do her? Like, right away, there's the violent undertone.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. There is that violent...
Putting your tag on, claiming, getting a piece.
Right.
Scoring.
And even just like words, like, bang, and, bang the crap out of her. I mean, there's a lovely image. So there really is a lot of, kind of violent undertones
and so
behind
much
male sexuality.
Of machismo gets wrapped up in that, so that if a guy is a sensitive, other-centered, a real good lover, that's made fun of. That's, he's a cuck. He's too sensitive. He's a real man, just gets his and doesn't care if a woman gets off.
Right.
See, it's written right into the script.
And it is. But I also want to think we can point out that script is really a lot of fronting.
Of course,
it's a lot of fronting behavior, because
course.
A lot of these guys, when they are with their partners, they get a lot more meek. They get a lot more mild. There's a lot more yes, dears, and whatever you want me to do.
We've been using as a verb for years, peacocking.
Yeah.
Right? And when guys peacock, they're utterly ridiculous. Just like peacocks are ridiculous. Right? And peahens walk around like utterly disinterested, like, please. Ridiculous with all the feathers.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Put your
Somebody
plume
have sex
away.
with me. Somebody have sex with me.
Right.
Look at my plumes.
Right. Don't be texting me pictures of your plume.
That's where it started. Yes.
And it's... I was even talking about this in my my psychology class this afternoon, mentioning just briefly, referring back to that documentary, Dream Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Which... It's so powerful. It really is. And I always hesitate to talk about music videos and kind of problems, because it just automatically makes me sound too old.
Well,
and it's sort of like, it seems like the next thing I should be saying is get off my lawn.
That's right. When we lay claim to the fact that we saw the very first video MTV ever played, we're old.
Yeah, Absolutely.
That was what, 1985?
No, 1981.
Video Killed the Radio Star.
That was the very first.
81.
Romeo,
right.
yeah. Do you remember the second one?
Elvis Costello.
That's right. What's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding?
Yeah, we're old.
Yep.
But, we've done a lot of teaching, a lot of training on this, and the subtle difference between sexual development, how we grow up into the adult bodies that we have, and developmental sexuality, which is more like your line of work with how we become men and women, right? Like it's this time of year. Remember, for many years, we got to get back into this. I miss them terribly. But in June, around Father's Day, for many years, and during the old Planned Parenthood days, we used to do our original program called Daddy's Little Girl.
Yep.
The role of fathers in the healthy sexual development of their daughters.
Yeah.
And it was powerful then. It's powerful now. It's a message that still isn't heard enough. I mean, we were talking last week about the toxic masculinity and those messages that guys get growing up, but how do women learn how to be treated by men?
Well, that's why I was referencing the dream world and music videos.
Yeah.
Because
where women are props and, and
the
toys
whole
for men's
industry,
entertainment.
Right? The whole industry is based on the male adolescent heterosexual fantasy.
Well,
and girls just have to go along.
Especially into the 90s, look at how closely music videos paralleled porn.
Well, sure.
Porn stars were in music videos, and all rock stars wanted to be porn stars, and they were all...
Right. And not for nothing, but it's not just porn and music videos, because actually in the first edition of that documentary, they did sort of this collage where they interspersed like rape scenes, commercials, and kind of porn, and you really couldn't tell the difference between all of where it was just so interwoven. But the end of it, they had showed some statistics. They had done a study, something like 10,000 adolescents across the country, 15 to 19-year-olds. And, some of it was certainly not surprising, disturbing, but not surprising, that 80% of adolescent males said that if they wouldn't get in trouble, or if, something wouldn't happen to them, they would rape a woman. Right? So nice to know the only thing stopping them from doing that is that they could get into trouble. There's no moral imperative there at all. 85% of these adolescent males said that if they spent a lot of money on a date, that the girl is obligated to have sex with them, and they defined a lot of money as $20. So, ladies, the price of your virtue is $20.
Cheryl has posted a comment on Facebook. It's easier for men to just have sex for the hell of it with anyone. As a female, I can't, needs to be someone I'm in love with. I'm going to really disagree with you, Cheryl,
as a
with all
personal
due
preference.
Respect. I think it's not easier for men. I think... I don't know.
Well, I think from it's
disconnecting the emotion, if that's what you're referring to with the comment. But I think women are just as capable of just wanting sex without a relationship. And, that I think it's kind of a sexist cliche to think that men sort of endure relationships so that they can have sex on demand, like that fantasy just vaporizes in a second.
Right.
And women endure sex so they can be protected by a big, strong man in a relationship.
That is the old
women
cliche.
like sex as much as men, and men often want an emotional connection. But I think, easy to have sex. Compare this visual, right? A woman walking into a bar full of men and saying, "Excuse me, your attention, please. I'm horny. Anybody willing?" Versus a guy walking into a bar full of women and saying that. You can have a room full of women saying, "Shut up, get down," right? Whereas the guys are going to be like taking numbers at the deli.
So, and I think, again, as a personal preference, certainly understand that and respect that, but that really does, I think, reflect what is an old cliche, where it used to be said that men will use love to get sex, women will use sex to get love.
Right. Power play and games.
And we are seeing a big change. And even if I put sort of an age split, men, for the most part, over the age of 50, want more of that emotional connection, women under the age of 40 seem almost more driven by the physical aspect of sex. So again, a little switching of the
when
script.
Rosemary Basson introduced her non-linear model of
Right.
human
You remember
sexual
the issue
response.
I took with that?
And we all did. I
Yeah.
really wish you would not have called it a non-linear model for female sexual
Right.
response,
Right.
and further imply that Masters and Johnson's linear model was a male model, because they described men and women
That's right.
with key differences. And as we've been saying for years, there's plenty of men, especially as they age, notice I said they and not we,
Right.
who respond in a more nonlinear, that
Exactly.
what Basson would call a female
Exactly.
model.
Right.
I think that we should just say that some people are more responsive in their sexual, arousal first, maybe, and other people more spontaneously horny, where desire is up front.
Right. And there's a real...
Not men this way and women that way.
No, there's been such a social shift in a lot of this stuff, just simplistically looking at it as pre-Girls Gone Wild versus post-Girls Gone Wild. So, more and more women are just out to get theirs, get in, get off, get out, just like the old sort of typical sort of masculine pattern. So, things really are changing, but there is that, I think, that established standard that women have often been held to for a long time. But it's definitely in flux, but certainly appreciate the comment.
So would you say that the good girl, bad girl message is still a thing?
It's still very much a thing, even though more girls are trying to take the power
of the
back
bad girl.
from that.
Right.
Sure, when you have girls walking around with skimpy little shorts that say slut,
Or juicy.
I mean, there's a definite message there. You remember our experience buying clotothes for a 4-year-old girl, and we saw that
No, that
skimpy...
was infant wear. That was like
was it younger? I thought-
6-month-old baby clothes
I was thinking it
with
was
the
more
little
like 4.
two-piece,
Yeah.
black
Frilly.
fake leather, little slut outfit with the tag on it, like a stop sign that said "Don't stop." Oh yeah, there's a healthy message
Right.
for a 4-month-old
Now,
baby
again,
girl.
going back to Dreamworlds and the numbers that they cited afterwards, the numbers for the males and those attitudes, not a surprise.
Right.
What really disturbed me
The girls.
was the 42 or 45% of girls that agree with those statements, that buy into those messages, that their sort of sexual template is from music videos. And that's how they're learning a lot of those kinds of
These are the same girls
roles.
that take on that message that, I guess if someone spent a lot of money on me,
That's right.
I do owe
They
them
buy
something.
into, oh, yeah. And if they don't go along, there are consequences. We are seeing at levels we have never seen before, intimate partner violence in adolescent relationships on levels that we never had before. I can go back 20 years or a little bit more in my teaching experience, and if I ask students, even college students, how many of them either have or know somebody, their peers, that have experienced intimate partner violence, you wouldn't get a hand raised.
Really?
Now you won't not get a hand raised.
Everybody knows somebody.
Yeah. It's kind of like with HIV. When I first started doing this, I'd ask especially young people, you know anybody with HIV?
Nobody
Absolutely
did.
now. Now, who doesn't?
Yeah.
So, these things really have been in flux, which is why I think it's more important than ever that we really kind of look at this messaging, that can't continue the way it was. It's way too toxic. And in addition to the, dads and daughters and the importance of that dynamic and the importance of that influence, we also have to remember, too, and this is something that we've pointed out, more than a few times in the past, that we kind of need to stop and think for a moment when we're talking about men this, men that, and let's remember who's raising these men.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Right? So we have some particular issues that we need to see addressed.
That's why I brought it up under that developmental sexuality banner. That it's not just boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. It's the psychosexual development of young men and young girls to all of the usual messages of sexual health and empowerment, to know to own their bodies. There's a sexist message.
Yeah.
I don't think boys usually need to be empowered sexually. I think that happens.
I don't know. I don't know if I would agree with that either. I think that's another one of those. There's the front, and then there's the reality.
Yeah.
You know, you remember how many times we have had, and I know you've had this as well, where even early on in our sexuality education careers, doing condom demonstrations, especially to adolescent guys, and invariably there's always a couple of guys that come up, even adults, sort of give it that look around, make sure nobody's listening first, and then, hey, thanks for doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad because I really didn't know how to do it, but I can't say that.
And of course they can't admit that.
Right.
Right. Everybody has to act like they know.
Right. And I think that is not but a significant issue in all of these sort of problematic masculinity things that we look at. The fact that men are just presumed to know. Adolescent boys kind of grow up with this sort of expectation, almost an imperative, that they're supposed to know all about this stuff and can't ask.
I think it's worse now because kids are exposed to so much younger, but they still don't learn anymore.
No.
There's still no education.
And that's a
So
big
even
disconnect.
more of an imperative to act like they know when they're probably more clueless than ever.
And that's especially important to hear for adults, parents, teachers, adults who work with young people, because there's this pervasive attitude that, well, young people are so tech savvy, they have so much that they're exposed to, they know so much now before, younger than we ever learned. No, they don't. In fact, in a lot of ways, I think they know less because they are exposed to so much. They're exposed to images.
But they're not
exposed to superficial
to education.
Right. There's
They're
no
not
substance
exposed
behind
to
it.
information that can help them and help them to have healthy relationships. They're exposed to the same old media images, and
that's right.
Right.
That's
Some would argue that there's this pornification of media images and sex roles. So,
and I think there's
a lot
something
of
to
young
that.
guys are still learning about sex, probably more from porn than from sexuality educators or parents.
And that is the only message that they get. So that does become their educational tool and template. When did the money shot become an everyday common man kind of occurrence? To see the male ejaculating on his partner in porn was basically the way that producers were showing it was real.
Yeah.
That's why they
and
called it the money
guys could
shot.
relate to, right? Guys
Exactly.
honestly can't relate to women's orgasm so directly. That's why I think they're so easily fooled.
Right.
A little moaning and a little writhing, and they think, "Oh, I must be great. Look, she must be enjoying herself."
Exactly. When actually she's just saying, get off my hair, but not using words.
Yeah, not happening. Yeah.
Right. So let's come back to this idea of raising sexually healthy kids, especially fathers and daughters, because that's again such a neglected dynamic. We've often been just saddened by the fact that especially girls that are hitting puberty and their bodies are changing and they're starting to develop breasts, so many fathers disconnect at that point.
At the worst possible time.
When they need them the most.
Right when they need them the most.
Yeah.
There's, that's mom's department.
That's right.
In fact, there's even that kind of physical distancing. Dad has no problem grabbing, hugging daddy's little girl, throwing her in the air, squeezing until a certain age. Then, her body starts changing and dad starts going, woo. Right.
And what's the underlying fear?
Her sexuality. Her sexual emergence.
Right, but his response to it.
Oh, yeah.
That's really the fear.
Deep and
that is
Freudian.
afraid that he might feel arousal. Might turn him on to hug his developing daughter.
Yeah. Scary stuff.
Yeah. So, I think that was part of the impetus for doing the Daddy's Little Girl stuff and really wanting to help foster that relationship. Because we know that almost every developmental outcome for girls is improved when she has a relationship with her father.
Yeah, or some adult men that can guide her and have her best interest always.
A healthy, nurturing, caring relationship with an adult man.
But, okay.
Have to qualify it.
But that's how sick it is, right? Remember once some Planned Parenthood affiliate, I forgot where, wanted to include a showcase on the Daddy's Little Girl program at a conference, but someone from the planning committee called and said, would you mind changing the name? I said, why? That's what we call it. And they said, because Daddy's Little Girl conjured images of incest, and some of the committee members were survivors and were triggered. I said, all the more reason I'm not changing the name.
Right. I think you also said, get your head out of the gutter, or something to that effect.
I'm not going to let this beautiful message of fathers and daughters, wonderful relationships, be sullied because somebody thinks that Daddy's Little Girl conjures images of incest.
Right.
That's disgusting.
Right. So dads need to be more connected and more involved. Dads can't avoid, if a girl has a question about her period or her body, it can't be go ask your mother or find a woman to answer that. Dad needs to be the resource. Dad needs to be the one to not only give the information, but also the reassurance that it's okay.
Yeah, why is this old classic thing that guys are totally freaked out having to buy tampons in the drugstore? Like, who
it's
could
like
it possibly
it's not like they think
for?
it's for them.
Yeah, right. Like, why are guys embarrassed?
Really, what are you doing with tampons?
If anything, it's like, I got a woman. That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Not right now, but...
Now, if they're college students, that may be different.
Why?
Well, I'm going to soak it in vodka, and, insert it anally and get high that way. A nice way to get alcohol poisoning.
Are the stupid kids still snorting condoms? Is that still a thing?
Oh.
God, why do kids have to be
Was it ever
idiots?
really a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a goof. I'm sure somebody did it, but I don't think it was like toad licking. It's not really a thing. It was a little overplayed.
Yeah.
But again, we're getting to the end of our time.
It happens all the time.
So, to want to keep emphasizing how important it is to have dads in their life. One of the most gratifying thing that I ever experienced in doing those kinds of programs, which was actually more of a just like mom, doing the mother and daughter thing, but always saying, moms, bring dad into this.
Yeah.
Got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Welcoming daughters to womanhood. And again, the most gratifying thing I ever had, I got about 2 weeks after a program, woman called me up to let me know that shortly after this program, her daughter got her first period. And she told her husband and said, look, you need to,
make a deal out of
this. And he sent her flowers and sent a card saying, welcome to womanhood.
Yeah.
You'll always be my little girl. And I mean, the mom, I think it just blew her mind, just rocked her world. And just look at what that did to this family.
Yeah.
All the relationship dynamics in that family. This is going to be an ongoing theme. Right? Dads and daughters, and we're going to also talk about moms and sons, because we have to talk about how a lot of moms are raising these sons, and how so many women, even in their mothering their own sons, are feeling disempowered.
Yeah. Wow, we got to talk about that.
So I'll leave that as my last minute drop.
Okay.
All right, and we'll to be continued. All right?
Well, it's Father's Day next weekend, after next weekend. So especially you dads of daughters out there, and we will continue the conversation. So please join us next Monday and every Monday at 9 o'clock for Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers.
Next Monday, we're going to be a repeat.
Okay. We'll be in Denver at the annual Sex Therapy Conference.
That's right.
But tune in.
So,
thanks for listening.
Have a great one.
You've been listening to Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers. Join us every Monday night at 9 p.m. on WNN 1470 AM and 95.3 FM, or watch live streaming video at AMP2 TV Productions on Facebook, or look for the shows on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us again next week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program